Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Warp, the completely unnecessary Star Trek podcast where we do unasked for audio commentaries of Star Trek episodes. My name is Sean.
My name is Matt.
I'm Jake.
Erin.
Minh.
M.A.
Welcome back. Today we are watching Season 3, Episode 17 of Next Generation, Sins of the Father. I think one of the better episodes. I love the Klingon stuff. So we're at 45 minutes and 46 seconds on the clock, and I'm punching the triangle in 3, 2, 1, punch.
Do you think in Star Trek Klingons are good ambassadors or like spokespeople for Saran wrap and Kling wrap? Like, do you think that there's a tie-in there? This is the Klingons Klingon. Okay, no, sorry, none of you came.
I mean, you really sometimes you just when you say something. No, it's not that. It's more that just like it causes me to go into like a sort of glitchy reboot mode where I have to like.
Oh wow!
I'm into it.
I have to recalibrate all my responses because I wasn't prepared for. Do you think Klingons should sell Kling wrap as an opening gambit in this episode?
That needs to be a thing.
You're like, do I want to riff off this comment? Or do I want to
let it die? Where are we going here?
Yeah. Or is this just a cry for help? And this is a person who's
I don't know, man.
vulnerable?
I want to see him wrapping some macaroni salad. Like, I would enjoy a commercial like that.
I think they should. I think Min's right. I think they should have gotten Michael Dorn to be like the spokesperson for Saran wrap. Like,
I'm surprised there's not like a Klingon cooking channel or like a Klingon home ec, on YouTube.
there are people on. There probably is. There are definitely people on Twitter who invent recipes for the food that they talk about on Star Trek. Like, when they make up some alien food, some nerd will figure out like what the Earth equivalent of that will be. So you can definitely find that online if that's what you're looking for. Yeah.
How authentic do you think?
It's so.
What do you mean? How authentic? It's a fictional food.
Sure. But like, how to as best they can, or do you think they're trying to do like the light version, like, oh, it'll just be beef, rather than like, oh, it would be like raw animal. So what if it was like venison? Yeah.
No, I think they take it. I mean, this is nerds we're talking about.
Yeah,
they take things pretty
as seriously
serious.
as they can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody who starts something like that would do it in the first place if they weren't like going to really dig deep into it.
That makes me think about the fish barrel then.
If you just had a light interest in it, you wouldn't do it in the first place.
Very true. Sorry, we veered off of the actual episode here, and it seems interesting.
It is interesting.
Klingon sitting in Riker's seat right now.
Yeah. Well, like Sean said, this is one of the first. This is one of the first ones where they really dig into.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen
Worf's backstory.
You've seen Worf's baby mama.
Oh,
that's the
right.
only other thing we've seen.
This is the first time they really get into the whole shit with his family, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's Sins of the Father. Original air date March 17th, St. Patty's Day, 1990.
Oh, yeah. Let's drink to that.
Klingon commander comes aboard the Enterprise in an officer exchange program initiated by Starfleet, much to the chagrin of the crew. Erin, guessing you didn't watch this episode since there's no Whoopi.
Correct.
What do you think the IMDb rating is?
Word on the street, it's pretty good, though. And we get some Worf background. So I'm going to say 7/7.
Ooh, you took...
Hey, did you watch the episode?
Yep. I say 7.
Oh, not impressed with the Klingon stuff, huh?
Too much growling.
They do like to growl.
There's a bit of growling when it comes to Klingons, yeah. Jake, Minh, Matt?
I'll give it an 8.2.
Nailed it.
I was going to say 8.2. God
You
damn it.
always say that, Matt. Next time, Matt gets to go first. Yeah.
So the one cool guest star of this episode, playing the Klingon that's on the ship, is Tony Todd.
He was good.
Who you probably know as Candyman.
Oh, that's right. That's okay.
And
He has a very deep voice.
Yeah.
Even deeper than like Worf's, which is already pretty voice. He does a bunch of Star Trek episodes, like not always playing this guy. Like he shows up a bunch as this character, but he's also in that Deep Space Nine episode where he's the kid from the future, and he's in a couple other ones, I think, too.
Yep. No.
You said he's the kid from the future?
There's an episode of Deep Space Nine where the kid on the show you see him as an adult, and that guy plays Jake.
Tony Todd plays him.
Yeah.
He's in a Voyager episode.
They like to reuse their actors on this show.
Well, the good ones. Yeah.
I always remember him.
It's a great gig if you're one of those people who they like and they keep bringing you back. I
remember him from The Rock.
If you guys could, The Rock.
Oh, the movie The Rock.
Yeah, he's one of the bad guys.
Oh, is he one? He's one of the terrorists. Okay.
Yeah, one of the.
If you guys could choose a guest role from Star Trek to play, which one would it be? You're like, oh, I want to take that. I can really sink my teeth into that one.
I would want to play Q. I think I could have a lot of fun.
Say that.
I could have a lot of fun playing campy, pansexual weirdo Q.
I would definitely have to play a Klingon.
Sure.
Big, loud.
Yeah, you'd make a good Klingon. That's true.
Yeah. I think I would make a good Klingon. I'd like to. We haven't met him yet, but what's Bulgy Eyes guy? What's his name, Matt?
Gowron.
Gowron. I'd like to play Gowron. When you meet Gowron, you'll get why.
I sort of want to. You said Klingon. I think it would be hilarious to have you play Worf's baby mama, and then just see that episode. Erin, do you have a guest? Well, I don't know. It's so hard. There are some great ones. I did think Q right away, but you've taken Q. So, does Q ever have an episode where he sees himself? Maybe I'll do Bizarro Q.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think I'd want to be that guest star Q that visits Q while he's not Q.
Yeah.
Because I know I could just do the most over the top thing and not do worse than the actual actor did.
Orphan Brunson's Q.
Yeah,
but
you could have improved on that for sure.
That's such a short role. He has what, like
butt-faced alien. I want to be one of the weird-looking ones.
Oh, the butt faces?
Yeah.
Yeah, just let the prosthetics do the acting for you.
Yeah, I'd like to look crazy, I think.
Oh, you know who was the Dramamine? No, not Dramamine. Droxine. Maybe that girl.
You're going back to original series.
Yeah.
That's an old one.
Yeah. And I'd wear that outfit.
That just means you'd be wearing one of those skimpy Star Trek girl outfits.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of meat on that roll, but I try to flesh it out. I think I try to make some interesting choices.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was, I think, one of our best episodes there, Droxine.
That was a fun one.
Oh my gosh, it's real food. What the hell?
I know, it's good.
They got turkey. They got some fish there.
I know.
Don't know what that little looks like. Potatoes.
It cracks me up that Picard is like carving the turkey, right?
Yeah.
Because Picard is the dad of the ship, so he carves the turkey like everybody
knows. Why are they having such a fancy meal?
For him.
It's a welcome for this guy.
This is a banquet for him. Okay.
Yeah, so quick plot summary.
Yes.
They've invited this guy, his name is Kurn, to come on the ship and take over as Will Riker's, take over as number one, and in like an officer exchange program.
There was
which
an
they've
episode
done once before where Riker went over to the Klingon ship a couple seasons ago. So they've done this before, but now they're doing it the other way around. So they've invited this guy to come and spend some time on the ship, and so they're throwing him a welcome to the Enterprise party, and he's bitching and moaning about how lazy and weak and soft Starfleet people are compared to Klingons.
Okay.
It's really got a lot of subtle comedy humor in there. I love it.
And he doesn't like the food because it's cooked, and they like eating raw stuff
Yeah.
because they're beasts. They eat their meat raw.
Got some space fork action going on.
Space fork action.
So dangerous.
Those are lethal weapons. Every time I see them, I'm like, that is a dangerous looking fork.
How's that not an OSHA violation or something?
I tell you, they're eating them off of them pretty.
Oh my god!
Pretty casually for sending 3 sharp spikes into your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now he's complaining that the food is bland.
Yeah.
He's not being a very polite guest.
He's not.
No, he's not. He doesn't
But he's
really
Klingon,
It's not really in their code of conduct.
He's thinking about his saran wrap deal later on.
Yeah.
Just seeing dollar
Got
signs.
shit on his mind right now.
They don't have they're not known for their like table manners. the
Acts.
Klingons.
Yeah.
You're lucky they get dressed up like and presentable.
Hey, look, did you guys see the pictures of space on the walls? Look right there. Picture of space. They're in
He is pretty dressed up. When
Yeah.
you listen to it, like half of his dialogue is like muddled by the sound of like his leather.
Oh yeah, you're hearing his costume through this whole
Wow.
freaking.
They really fully it, or is that just they picked it up?
They just
Do you
picked
think-
up.
Okay.
Clear as day.
There's so much leather and metal. It just clinks and creaks and
That's the sound of
mostly
Klingon.
like, the leather like rubbing against itself. It's like
It reminds me of like old grandma's houses where they would have like the plastic on the couches and you'd come and you'd sit
Yeah.
down and it would smell like mothballs.
yeah. He sounds like he's covered in Klingon wrap.
Yeah, that's
Bring it back.
Yes.
that's all. Good night, everybody. It's not getting better than that.
Nope.
oh really? Oof, yeah. We're warming up. We'll get hot. What are they talking about right now? Just like
So Worf is basically asking him, what's your problem with me? What do you, and he's telling him, no, you're a good Starfleet officer. And that's no Klingon.
That's such a diss though. Like he's like, you're very good at being in Starfleet.
Yeah. You
Which
could
is
never
basically
handle
calling him-
Klingon,
Which is basically calling him a weak
Pussy.
pussy who can't like hack it as a real Klingon.
yeah. Oh no.
Oh.
This is like bros where they have to like engage one another. They just got to wrestle for a little bit, work it out.
Funny
That
that,
was
you should use the
funny
word
that you say
bro.
that.
Man,
There you
because
go.
these two are brothers.
Dun, dun, dun. Yes.
Jacob, did you ever wrestle with Philippe when you were like young? You were like,
Jello, naked.
No, we're not wrestling siblings. Come on.
Okay.
Were you
Well-
more like sit quietly on the floor and read comic books kind of siblings?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
that tracks.
They were too far apart, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say
No.
5 years doesn't lead to wrestling.
Yeah.
Mm.
You gotta be close in age to cause the kind of
Ah.
destruction that two children can do to each
Oh,
other.
like your boys.
You don't say.
Okay. I mean,
Do they fight a lot?
they're pretty active. They're
constant.
physical. They're definitely.
Yeah, but there are usually the reason they don't do that when we're around, man.
Well,
they're usually
no.
they're very well behaved when company's around.
They are. They
So I don't know-
actually are great.
I don't know what
around-
they're like when they're just around the
Yeah,
house
yeah.
with
They're-
you guys.
They're great around other people, but
Mm.
they're terrors when it's just us.
Mm. Is it the same for you, Erin, with your boys? Because they're
Oh, they fight a lot. Yeah, they get physical quite a lot. Yeah.
interesting. Mm.
In a fun way or in a
Well, fun for now, but once they get into that,
Somebody gets hurt, it's fun.
no, see, our boys actually fight to try to hurt each other right off the bat. Like it's not. There's no fun. It's not.
I think that's
not-
part of it, but they act like it's
okay.
Mm.
there's punching and stuff to
Ew.
damage.
Yeah.
All the things.
Usually
is
the last
you're an only child.
Mm.
Yeah, I got no concept of any of that.
Only
Me neither, even though I have siblings, because we were just so spread out.
My parents and I were more like, "Hello, mother. Hello, father."
How do you do this morning?
Yes.
I will be in my room reading a giant stack of X-Men comics.
Yeah.
And if you need me, please come and knock politely on the door. That was more my vibe as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a good childhood. That's
Yeah.
It was lonely.
Well, you had your books and comics and such. I mean,
You had your books.
I had my book. That's
my-
like the saddest thing a person could say. Like,
it's better than
You're
Yeah,
like
oh
that.
my
You're
God,
like
my
Burgess,
books were my friends.
Burgess
You
Meredith
guys.
in the Twilight Zone character. I had time now.
You
I
you guys
got time.
you guys have got to watch Girls Five Eva, because there's this hilarious part where they do a song and it's called New York Lonely Boys, and it's all about like older parents who are raising like only children, and like they're like spend most of their time on their own and go to like coffee shop, like street side cafes on their own, and their best friend is the doorman and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
kind of like the New York version of that.
but
Yes,
again,
man, I had my books. Thank you
yeah.
for reminding me.
And it's led you to now with us. You have us now. Come on.
Yes, look how far it got me. Look at the heights.
You'd
True,
think
I
a
have
ma-
found
you'd think a man with his books would reach higher, but
You'd think.
you'd think.
Is this so low? Is this so low? I'm asking you.
Combine a love of books with a crippling lack of ambition.
I think ambition.
Get a guy who does a Star Trek podcast.
Well, I think success and drive and ambition are hugely overrated.
Yeah, we know you do.
Yeah, we
man.
know what you think, man.
We're
Like we
perfectly
know
aware
your
of
life.
that.
I've known you for a long time.
I've known you a while. I think we all generally have that same level of
Yeah,
ambition.
not an ambition,
Speak for yourselves.
a ambition. There's asexual, right? You can have a ambition.
So what's happened here, Minh, is that Worf's brother Kurn, who Worf didn't know existed, has come to Worf and said, "Our father is being accused of treason by the Klingon High Council. So I need you to come with me back to Klingon, back to the home world, and help me defend my father's honor." So Picard has agreed to go and take the ship to Klingon space.
Yeah.
So that they can have this sort of trial about the guilt or innocence of Worf's father.
Now, is that a little scandalous to take the ship into Klingon space?
No, because the Klingons are not enemies, right? We have they at this
There's
point
an
in the
alliance.
future,
Yeah.
there's an
Yeah.
alliance.
They have exchange
So
programs.
they have exchange
Exactly.
programs.
Mhm.
It's an uncomfortable alliance, and they don't always get along, but they are technically at peace with each other right now.
Mhm.
So Jean-Luc can take the ship there, no problemo.
Okay.
This episode is really all about Worf. It's not really about like there's no danger to the ship or anything in this
Mhm.
one.
I love it because this is giving me mad like Game of Thrones vibe right now.
It is very sort of proto Game of Thrones in some
Mhm.
ways. It's all about like sort of there are these various families, right, that all rule, that comprise the council that runs the Klingon Empire, right?
Mhm.
And Worf's dad is a high up muckety muck in the Klingon, chain of command. So it is very kind of Game of Thrones because there's a lot of sort of political wheeling and dealing and
speech
scheming.
making.
Some people are, secretly in alliance with each other, et cetera, et cetera. It's a lot of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What's he doing here?" And Picard's like, "I'm here because as a character witness for Mr. Worf, because he asked me to come and, stand by his side."
Yeah. I love it. Like
Because the other thing about it is that Klingons, all this shit is like dynastic and familial. So like if Worf's dad is convicted of treason, that reflects badly on Worf and his brother too, right? It all kind of like redounds down throughout the family. So it's not just their father's like reputation they're trying to protect. It's like the whole family would be like tainted by this.
Well, and since he has come back to challenge, if they find the challenge correct, he will be killed.
Right,
Or
right.
put to death.
Ooh. Stakes then.
If the challenge is not, rewarded or awarded or.
I didn't watch this, so I'm going entirely off of,
Memory.
the database.
I got a question
Memory alpha.
for Minh. Minh, do you know what happened to Worf's parents?
No.
Erin, do you remember what happened to Worf's parents?
Oh, did we see what happened?
We
Already?
know it's been told.
Talked about it. They've talked about it.
No.
His
Talked
parents
about
were
it in
killed.
this episode.
I failed. I have no memory alpha.
His parents were killed at the event that they're saying he was a traitor of. That's why he was there, was to be a traitor against the Klingons.
Oh, so they're pissed about somebody who's not even alive?
Correct.
Because I was confused. I was like, what happened to his parents? I thought his dad's on trial.
So the reason why he doesn't know he has a brother is because the brother wasn't there, and then he lived with another family as just their family.
Okay.
And they never told Worf he had a brother. Worf didn't know.
Is that the same big fat Klingon who plays the big fat Klingon in the movies?
It is Star Trek V. He's the one in Star Trek V, the one that lives on the planet.
He's the one with the down on the planet who gets
That's
drunk all the time.
And he's sort of that guy. It's the same.
It's
actor.
that same guy. Okay.
Yep.
I thought he looked familiar.
It was interesting because initially I thought like Captain Picard would be a bad choice to bring on because, I don't imagine him generally as like tough and overbearing. But during the scene, he was giving it. It was like I flashed to Henry V or something,
Yeah,
him on the
Picard's a
battlefield.
badass, he's when he
I was
needs to
impressed.
be.
Well, the other thing about Picard
And also Picard fucking loves a trial. He loves getting
true.
he loves to speechify and he loves to like argue nuances of law. So like just then in that scene we were just watching, he was like, I'm gonna need to study everything there is to know about Klingon law so that I can defend court.
Well, that's the other reason why you want him, because he will study up on that shit, So
Right. If you need somebody to be an advocate for you, Jean-Luc is the guy you go to for that. On this show anyway.
Wait, the king just said there was no risk to you.
yeah, they're basically now starting to unravel the plot. Is that it really is not him. They're blaming it on him because he's dead and Worf is part of Starfleet. They thought they could just sort of sweep it under the rug that way.
Scapegoat it.
Yeah, he's telling him, why don't you just leave? Go back to your Starfleet life. Don't make a big fuss about this thing, and this will all go away. And Worf's like, nah, I'm not going to do that.
Wow. It's really LARPy. It's very Game of Thrones. Yeah. Cool.
Because Worf grew up with humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't grow up around Klingons.
Mm-hmm.
So he has this sort of like secondhand idea in his head of what it is to be a Klingon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's way more into things like honor and loyalty and all of the sort of the Klingon ideals, right?
Right.
Because he's absorbed all this as like, this is what Klingons believe. But his ideals are constantly getting shattered whenever he encounters real Klingons because they never live up to
interesting.
the ideals that he grew up believing all Klingons were like.
Yeah.
So whenever he runs into Klingons and they're like scheming against each other and plotting and doing all this like shit, it's always sort of a wake-up call. Worf has to be like, you have no honor, and because they're, they live in the real world, and Worf grew up with this like fantasy version of what Klingons are.
So in a way, you could almost say that Worf is trying to be more of a true Klingon, or the ideal of a Klingon, than these Klingons are.
100%, yes.
It's like the most nationalist people are always from another country.
And this is a different Klingon, right? Now this is not his brother.
Okay, no.
Yeah,
So that's
okay.
his brother.
Yeah,
That's his brother.
This is the one who has blamed the other. So he's from the Duras family, and the Duras family will come into play much more when you meet the hot Duras sisters.
Mm-hmm.
But they're the ones who are blaming.
Daddy's part Klingon, you have to understand.
I mean, large boobed for sure, but are they hot really?
I'm just saying. They like to show their cleavage.
Let them have it.
Yeah, come on.
It's fine.
You know?
It's fine. I'm sorry.
Who am I hurting? Who am I hurting?
Nobody.
Oh no!
You want to write? You want to write some Dura Sisters fanfic?
I'm
You
sure
just
it's out
go
there.
right ahead.
Do we get to see them today?
Oh, not today, but soon. Eventually.
I'm telling you, the Klingon stuff's the best. I love the Klingon story stuff.
The Klingon stuff is very good. I agree with you.
But so anyways, that's who has challenged and basically brought the charges against the family is that
See
family.
that extra? He's wearing the old season 1 uniform. They don't make they only made good uniforms for the main people. The old people have to wear the old uniform.
All the extras.
All the extras have to wear the old uniforms.
Well, hell yeah. Well, they've got a stockpile of them there.
I
Probably
would
not
feel
even cleaned. Probably still smells like the last person who wears it.
They all smell like Data.
Nowadays extras would be like, oh yeah, this is the original. Oh my gosh, is that Riker scent? Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna walk
This
off.
is Wesley Crusher's original sweater.
Yeah, there you go.
Back when he was wearing sweaters every week.
People are pawing them. So now they're doing some science mumbo jumbo.
They're
trying to solve the mystery of what happened when Worf's parents
what
killed.
the dad's being accused of.
Because they were attacked by Romulans, right? That's why Worf has a real hatred of Romulans, and they're trying to figure out if the dad really did have anything to do with it. Because if they can prove the dad was innocent, then that helps Worf's case.
This is how can we undo like somebody's whole childhood trauma by just putting all our heads together?
Right.
By Googling some stuff.
I mean, there's no mystery that these people can't solve in 47 minutes.
Yeah.
So
it's more CSI, I think, than Googling.
Yeah, it's a little CSI. You're right. It's a little scan and enhance.
Got it.
Enhance.
It's all about figuring out what question to ask the computer. So it is Googling.
The Worf's realizing Picard's telling him something's up. Like this is bigger than just what we thought this was about. And because they keep trying to like dissuade you and like throw you off the trail. So something is important, and we're gonna have to get to the bottom of it. Oh, and by the way, I need somebody to be like my second essentially in this upcoming fight.
And, there's a word.
And I want it to be you. And John Luke's like, yes, I'll do it.
But he says at first they're stronger men.
Like Riker, I might have chosen that Riker would have been my number 1 spot, I think.
Yeah, Worf doesn't like Riker as much as he likes Picard.
Yeah.
Worf really loves Picard. Like he kind of hero worships Picard.
Yeah. But here's the thing. If I'm doing like a marathon, I want a certain type of person on the team.
Well, again, like Matt was saying, John Luke's going to act right in this because he'll have done the research on how to be a Chadish.
Yeah, I mean, he was spitting the lingo.
Riker is, 75-25, he'll do it right. Because he might get distracted by some hot Klingon lady, and you never know what's going to happen then.
Well, he's winning some. He's going to bart it up and gain some allies is what he's going to do. So, but we'll see. We'll see how Picard does. Did you pronounce it Chadich, Erin?
Yeah. How do you say it?
I don't know. Because I don't hear the audio. So it's. Does anyone know? Anyone have the?
That sounds pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like Chadich or something like that.
That sounds cool. You guys are my Chadiches.
This is all. It's all all of this stuff that they use is all by that guy who created the Klingon dictionary back in the 70s.
Yeah, that's correct.
All the Klingon they use on the show was based on some other guy who created the language.
Great.
I want to imagine that Philippe is your ultimate Chadich, Erin. So, like, well, we will never be that for you. And I think Philippe would be a great Chadich.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're not sold on that.
Yeah, that pause was a little.
Yeah, that was a long
I
pause.
don't even know what a chadich is, so I'm just like, yeah.
Oh, it was the second. It's like your
And it
backup.
just
You're a
means
wingman.
like the person you'd take with you into a fight.
Yeah. Yeah. He is my chadich.
Yeah. Right?
Well, I don't know if you guys are interested, but if you are, I have some corrections corner.
Yeah.
Unless
Sure.
you're really interested in this episode, which could be because this is a good episode.
I am interested in the episode, but there's
I watched
always
the
time
episode.
for correction.
I could see. I've seen it already.
Play the jingle, Jake.
Correction Corner.
These are corrections for episode 114, Lonely Among Us. Erin, you'll recall Lonely Among Us because it was an episode where there were dog-faced people and lizard-faced people, and they were having a war with each other. And they came on the ship, and you were very put off by the look of dog-faced people.
I'm sure.
We got into Sean and I got into it over IMDb versus Wikipedia because IMDb had different air dates for these episodes than what the Wikipedia had as the air date. So we were talking about which one is generally considered more like reliable. Sean was saying IMDb, I was saying Wikipedia, but at least in terms of academia, Sean is correct because you can cite to IMDb in like official, like academic journals and places like that. You can cite to IMDb. You cannot, or you're not supposed to anyway, cite to Wikipedia because it's not considered a legitimate source. So IMDb, more reliable than Wikipedia.
But did we know why the dates would be different? Like did they take
that we kind of glossed past that, but yeah, it's because the show was in syndication, so it didn't air on the same night every week.
Yeah,
every town.
everywhere. Right.
Depending on where you lived, it could be on Saturday. Like in Fresno, I think it was on Saturdays at 7, if I'm remembering correctly. But it could have been on Fridays or Sundays.
The dates that are in IMDb are on Saturday night.
Yeah, I think that's
the dates on Wikipedia. I think were on Monday night.
Whoa.
So together Wikipedia.
Yeah. So IMDb more reliable than Wikipedia. Philippe was on that episode, and he talked about how he made a reference to the fact that there were 12 people in Jabba the Hutt. Like 12
controlling
Cheers.
Right.
Jabba the Hutt to make Jabba work. Does anybody want to take a guess how many people? What the real number is? The number of people inside Jabba the Hutt?
I think it's like 3.
Yeah, I think it's 3.
Yeah, it's 3. So I know he was just making a joke, but the correct answer is 3. Plus a couple of people outside who were also doing things. So I'm gonna post a picture right now into the chat so you guys can see. It's a sort of a cutaway diagram that I found on the internet that shows what it looked like when these people were.
What do you think? What do you think it smelled like?
So basically, what it is one guy is doing the tail, and then one guy is doing the right arm and the eyes, and the third guy is doing the left arm and the mouth, basically. And then there's a guy underneath who's doing something in the
underneath.
Sort of rolls him back and forth, I think.
underneath Jabba. And then there's a guy off to the side who's got a remote control. I don't know what he's doing. I think he's making the eyes blink, maybe, or something.
Animation. Yeah. Dude,
So anyway,
the guy
the official
underneath.
answer is 3 people. I think the worst job is the guy underneath.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
The one, yeah.
if you were claustrophobic, you would not want to be like in that chamber underneath Jabba. That doesn't seem good at all.
Someone miscalculated things, and the whole Jabba thing just collapses on him. What a way to go, right?
Oh, see, Picard almost got killed, but some woman has rescued him. They've got those cool 3-pronged Klingon knives.
Yep.
Sean, we've talked about those before.
I like the cloak that they give him. It's very cinematic, right?
Yeah, well, he was trying to like blend in,
Mhm.
so he was wearing this coat over his uniform.
Yeah, big shoulders.
It didn't work because they still tried to kill him.
Yeah. Well, I think. I thought it was like a trap that they were setting because the other Klingons had overheard him telling Worf that he was going to go look for this woman.
Yeah, they kind of just followed him.
Yeah,
So
the
woman is
woman's not in on it.
She can like undo the conspiracy or whatever. She knows something about what really happened. Is that what it is?
Yep.
She's his worst nurse, so she was there the day.
But
she
she
was
doesn't really have any information to help.
Yeah, she doesn't actually know who did it, but she knows it wasn't the dad. But she doesn't
She
actually.
says it wasn't him, but she can't prove it. So they're like, well, she doesn't prove anything.
But so they kind of bring her along to kind of bluff a little bit.
Yeah.
Is he just trying to buy time so that the gang upstairs can?
No, they're trying to get this guy to talk because they know something's up and they're figuring if they can just make it look like they've got proof, he'll come forward because also this guy has a thing for her.
So they know there's some kind of conspiracy going on at
Right.
this point.
And see, he was just waiting for them to slip. Now they figured out that it was actually their father that did it. The Duras family is the one and they've been covering up this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Decided to dump it on Worf's family because they're hoping that it would just go away.
Yeah.
Because Worf
he's gone.
challenged it. They didn't know was that he had a brother.
Right.
Because that brother has been living under a different family name. And then she's going to call him fat. Yeah, fat.
Oh, damn.
That's pretty harsh. I don't know.
Yeah. You got Harvey Weinstein.
Guy might have a thyroid problem. You don't know.
That's right.
You don't know his truth.
Well, we can sort of guess.
Back to Corrections Corner.
Erin and Philippe were talking about a forensic files they had watched that involved what is called DNA phenotyping, which is when they use DNA to predict what somebody will look like. So from their DNA that they can tell, what color hair you will have and what color eyes you will have, and stuff like that. So so I looked it up because Erin and Philippe couldn't remember what it was called, but it's called DNA phenotyping. I found an article about it online from a couple years ago. It's still basically like in the early stages. Like it doesn't really work, and it's not considered like you can't use it in court as evidence. It's like Wikipedia. It's not reliable. So, but there are companies that are working on this, and there are some police forces that use it, that like subscribe to this company's service.
They just don't use it as evidence.
You can't use it. Mostly what you can do is use it to exclude people, right? Because if you know that it's a blue-eyed person, you can exclude blue-eyed suspects or whatever. So, but that's what that's all about. DNA phenotyping, it's called.
Oh, this episode is getting deep now.
This is the big dramatic climax, basically, or it's gonna be in a few minutes. Because they're like, even though we know it's true, we're not gonna do anything about it. Which is another like Worf being like, these Klingons do not behave the way I think Klingons are supposed to behave.
So what's gonna happen, man? Oh my gosh.
Well, now he's gonna pull rank. He's like, no, fuck it. I'm not letting you kill him.
Right.
He's part of my crew. You do that, now you got an international incident on you.
Oh.
Yeah, Worf is like, I'm going to show you how to behave honorably by dying anyway for this pointless shit.
Sean said that DC Fontana took her name off of Lonely Among Us because she didn't like what the rewrites had done to her story. But she's the credited writer on that episode, so she must have taken her name off of some other episode. It might have been might have been the other one we were doing that day.
Maybe.
But she's listed as the writer of Lonely Among Us. So she didn't take her names off of it. This episode, we recorded it right at the start of the pandemic. It was one of the first ones that we were doing remotely.
Oh, really?
It was the first or second time, I think, that we had done it remotely. Philippe talked about how alcohol and gun sales had both gone up since the start. And this was only a few weeks in. But he had read something about both alcohol consumption and gun sales going up and what could possibly go wrong. So now here we are like over a year later. So I looked up to see what the actual numbers were. Apparently alcohol sales went up 34% in the last 12 months. Tobacco sales went up 13%.
Oh.
Gun sales went up 60% in the last year. Which they say was a combination of pandemic fears and,
election.
protests and Black Lives Matter kind of protests and people panicking about that kind of stuff. So 60% up in gun sales. So that sounds great.
Yeah. A bunch of drunks, people with guns.
Sounds
what could go wrong?
Good to me.
Or bitch slap somebody.
Yeah. Worf's not afraid to bitch slap somebody.
So the solution was, what is this discommendation thing that Worf put forward?
Basically made the family name shit.
Yeah, they're basically saying we won't kill you, but we're going to strip you of your family. We're basically sending you into exile, and your family will lose its honor, right? Which the Worf is a big fucking deal because he cares a lot about honor. And
Picard's like, look, we're doing this today so we can fight again some other day, all right? So just chill out. Don't tell people who you are, and keep your eyes open.
He's like, this isn't over for, this is over for now, but we'll be back. And
so do they pick up this storyline later?
Oh,
yeah. Worf's relationship to the Klingon Empire is a huge running subplot through.
I would never ever expect.
It doesn't get huge in this series, although they do a few more episodes about it. It doesn't really, but it becomes a big part also of when he goes over to Deep Space Nine. Yeah. It becomes a big part of that story.
But the Star Trek, the Next Generation stuff with Worf is all great. This is a really good episode. Like, this is all very like Shakespearean, them crossing their arms and turning around.
Back. Yeah.
They're symbolic.
Has to do it now.
Stunning, and his brother has to do it too. Like, this is all very good.
Yeah.
I would say I think this episode is actually better than an 8.2, but
yeah, I thought it was low
for you.
But I highly rank the Klingon stuff myself. So
I think it's like super meaty. It's a great whole setup for
and I love the way they look at each other and then they just turn and walk out of the room together. Like, it's great.
Yeah, great closing visual too.
That episode won an Emmy for art direction because of all the Klingon sets.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well done. I like that one, guys.
We want the rest of Corrections Corner on the end? Or Jake and Philippe made a reference to Numberwang, and I was just I just wondered if everybody knew what that was a reference to.
No.
It's a British sketch comedy show called That Mitchell and Webb Look. It's David Mitchell and I forget what the other guy's name. His last name is Webb, obviously, but I forget what his first name is. But it's a sketch from this British comedy show called Numberwang, and it's a game show sketch where there are no understandable rules to the game. It's just two contestants randomly shouting numbers, and then every once in a while the host will shout, "It's Numberwang!" And like that person gets points. It's just. Did you watch that whole show, Jake, or do you just know that sketch from like seeing it online or whatever?
been racking my brain to try to figure out what the hell you're talking about. I don't know at all.
Well,
I
a
don't even know
year
what show you're talking
ago
about.
you did. Because you and Philippe were doing the sketch together.
Oh, really? Wait, what show is it?
The show is called That Mitchell and Webb Look. It's a British sketch comedy show.
I don't know. I may have just been riffing Philippe just off of the idea.
Okay.
And I have never seen that.
Well, somebody said Numberwang.
Philippe in the room.
So somebody knew the sketch because one of you actually said the punchline of the sketch.
I have to ask Philippe.
I'll post it on. I'll email you. I'll text you guys the link to the sketch. It's on YouTube.
Okay, great.
Sounds like producer Jacob has been replaced by some sort of clone, and now the real Jacob
Let's
is.
see. If you didn't remember that one, Jake, let's see how you do with this.
Okay, I'm ready
What
for it.
can you tell me about a Portuguese man of war?
No.
It's not really a jellyfish.
There you go.
It's a siphonophore.
Okay. So the alien in this episode, you guys described. Minh said it looked like a jellyfish, and then Philippe said like a man of war, and then Minh said, "Is that a jellyfish?" And then Jake, you piped up, and you were like, "Actually, a man of war is not a jellyfish. It's a siphonophore."
Yeah.
Do you want to explain to the folks what a siphonophore is? First of all, does anybody know besides Jake
No.
what makes a Portuguese man of war an interesting kind of animal? No. Okay, go ahead, Jake. Lay it on him.
It's basically a colony organism where each one kind of starts out similar, like kind of like a stem cell, but they each grow into like a specified like function.
Part.
So like the thing that forms the gas sac and the things that form the poisonous barbs and the tentacles, they're all the same like type like creature that grow into the specialized function of that organism.
What? How do they?
It's the way I read it. The way I understand it from reading these articles online is that it's not considered an it; it's considered a them.
Yeah,
it's a colony animal. Each individual part is its own animal.
Yeah,
and they're called zooids. Or maybe it's zooids, I don't know, but it's zooids. The individual zooids are what the individual parts of it are called.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of has a jellyfishy look. It's gelatinous on the top and it's got these long tendrils, but it is not a jellyfish. It is its own weird colonial organism, a siphonophore.
Now I'm fascinated how they figured it out that they were all just like individual animals, even though they're just different parts. Yeah, I'm gonna go do some reading now. Nice.
Google Portuguese man of war, and you'll find all kinds of
the more you know.
Kind of interesting information. Erin made a joke about how Geordi should be able to smell where someone is because
you can't see it.
Because blind people have, we always say that blind people have their other senses become heightened to make up for that. So I looked to see if blind people actually do have a more acute sense of smell, and apparently they do not. They do not.
They have a more acute sense of hearing.
It's more just that you pay more attention to it because you're missing your blindness, missing your eyesight. So they did tests to see if blind people actually have a better sense of smell, and they used a machine called a tomodensitometer, and they asked the participants to identify the smell of a rose, of vanilla, and of butanol, which is like a sweet alcohol smell. They tested those three things with people who were blind and people who were not blind, and they found that it made no difference in terms of how well you smell. It's just that you pay more attention to smell when you can't see what you're looking at. So blind people don't smell better. They may smell better. They do not have a better sense of smell.
Are you saying that blind people don't shower, Matt? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I'm saying they smell better than the rest of us. And that's it. That's the end of Corrections Corner.
Oh.
Very good.
Also, the episode. Look at that.
Wrap it up.
Thanks very much for listening to Warped. You can rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. You can email us at warpedthepodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram at warpedthepodcast and get our merch on Instagram at lunar_flare. Follow us on Twitter at warpedtrek. Follow me on Twitter at hostwarped. Follow Minh to learn about our Dungeons and Dragons and Call of Cthulhu podcasts and live streams at Wet Maynard. And most importantly, go to patreon.com/warped, become a member, and get access to additional material and bonus content. Sean?
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Next week, join us for episode 18, Allegiance. Till then, my name is Sean.
Or don't. Who knows what episode we'll post. We shouldn't make any promises because who knows what could happen. My name is Matt.
Theoretically.
I'm Jake.
I'm Erin.
I'm Minh.
I'm Meg.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.